Okay, we're ready when you are.
Okay, thanks, Justin. All right, so I will call this meeting to order at 10:03 on Friday, May the 2nd, 2025. I'll start with the land acknowledgement. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Darronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. With that, I'll ask if there are any declarations of interest for today's session. Seeing none, we'll go on to number 4 on the agenda, which is the adoption of the agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Joe. And Councillor O'Hare, thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. The agenda is approved. So the first item on the agenda, which is number 5, is the adoption of our minutes from our last meeting. So again, can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes from last meeting? Thank you, Joe and Councillor O'Hare. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? I'm seeing none. Then again, thank you. The minutes are approved. All right, so getting into the business here. So item number 6 on the agenda, correspondence, is about on the March 18th council meeting that City Council passed the report DF7 2025 regarding the RFP award for the official plan consolidation and gaps analysis for official plan conformity exercise. That is a mouthful of a title. Out of 5 candidates, the city awarded the contract to SVN Architects and Planners. I'll just make a quick comment here, consistent with our last call regarding the ECBAC's committee, the ECBAC group here, our long-term objectives. I believe that this committee should be able to provide input to the city's updated official plan. And I understand that the process is just getting started now that the contract has been awarded. And I will ask again formally to the city that to ensure that we are engaged and involved in the city activities for this updated official plan. Just to put it on the record. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the award of this contract for the official plan? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go into number 7. Start with the Decoux Road Environmental Assessment Study.
Mr. Chair, sorry, before that, I do have one more correspondent.
Oh, sorry, Justin.
That's okay. Just that EVSX Battery Recycling made a presentation to council at their meeting on April 29th regarding their operations at the facility. And if anyone's interested in watching that, it's on our YouTube page. They can watch the presentation.
Okay. Is that on an updated agenda? I'm reading off one that doesn't have that.
No, I just, because it was after the publication of the agenda, I just put it in my notes to bring up.
Yeah, no problem. And okay, so while we're on the subject, yeah, so just to provide a little bit more context, EVSX came to us about a year and a half ago, us meeting this committee as well as City Council, to talk about setting up a plant there to recycle batteries. A few of us, Councillor Longo, myself, and I think some other city staff and members of this committee did a tour of the facility, but at that time there was nothing really in place. There was just a bunch of equipment lying around in a dusty warehouse. But they have been recycling alkaline batteries for a few months. And now they're updating their line, their factory equipment to take what they call multi-chemistry batteries, which specifically is including lithium-ion batteries. And there's a fair amount of concern in the city about potential fires that are difficult to put out with lithium-ion batteries. The presenter from EVSX did talk about a new fire retardant system that's specifically designed to put out lithium-ion fires. And so I think that was well received, although there's some more discussion going on with the fire chief and others. So I also talked to the rep that was at the council meeting a few days ago and expressed interest again on taking another tour, which he said that he would welcome us to do that once everything is up and running and they have a bunch of safety procedures put into place. So he expects that will be in about 2 months from now. So we'll follow up with him on that. Okay. Where was I? Right. Okay. So let's go to the Decoux Road. And by the way, am I saying that correctly? Is it Decoux or Dessous?
Decoux.
Sorry?
DeQ, I thought.
DeQ.
Is what everybody I hear
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Decoux. Okay. So I believe Ugo, and am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Ugo?
Yes.
Yeah, so Ugo has joined us to provide us an overview of what's happening with Decoux Road.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ugo Biako. I'm here with the engineering department as a project manager. I am a project manager for the Decoux Road EA project and the design project. So as of today, we have finalized the Class EA project for the work, and we are in the phase of proceeding to writing the RFP for the detailed design / construction. The report certifying that we've completed this EA was presented to council in their March 18th meeting. This was done by our consultant, RVA Anderson. The report, more like a whole overview of what we went through during the Class EA project. And there are other engagements that we did with the Indigenous First Nation group as well. And we did some consultation with the MPCA and did other studies as required for the EA project. So as of today, we've finalized those reports and published that report as requested by the ministry. It's supposed to stay for 30 days. If no further comment is received, then we could proceed to detailed design. So we've met that criteria. So the stage we are right now is to proceeding with the detailed design phase / construction. I'm open for questions, sir.
Thank you, Ugo. The presentation, the agenda did include an attachment with the presentation, so I hope everyone had a chance to see that. And Ugo is referring to the section of Decoux Road just off of Beaver Dams Road, near the Lake Gibson Recreation Area. I do have a couple of questions and comments, but I'll open it up for anyone else first. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor O'Hare, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Ugo. When the report came to council, there were some questions about the parking facility, and we were wondering if there was an option for doing some permeable pavers there, or is it going to be strictly asphalt and concrete curbs?
Yeah, so in the detailed design, we'll look at those options and see what will work best depending on the soil material around there. Yes, yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're looking into it. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks. Thank you, Councillor O'Hare. Any other questions? Okay, I had the same question, and I was also going to ask about, it looks like there's an additional parking lot being added there. So what was the driver for the second parking lot? Is there statistics or something that justifies the need for another one?
So one was safety, another one was the the volume of use on the Mel Stewart Park. So we identified that there's some need for additional parking based on our study to deter people from doing J crossing along the key road after construction, if in operation. So we considered safety and the ease of maneuvering around that pathway to make that decision.
Okay, thank you. So I have a comment that I'll make, and I don't mean to lecture or anything. It's just a comment that I'll make for discussion. But I look at these projects, infrastructure projects, and I see something missing. I suggest that natural infrastructure should have some sort of a value attached to it, so that it is considered an expense to remove. Okay, so in a situation where where the city wants to build a new parking lot, then there needs to be an expense associated with removing whatever natural grounds there are there. Now, in this particular case, I don't think it's anything but grass. But if it was a wetland or a forested area, I think we need to take this into consideration. So I'm referring to natural infrastructure like trees, wetlands, forests. They provide services. They sequester carbon, they absorb water, they provide shade, and much, much more. I believe that there's tangible financial benefits in terms of climate change mitigation, adaptation, that helps us control the temperatures as well as the water flow with these assets. So I'm suggesting that somehow going forward, that infrastructure projects includes this in some sort of a financial analysis. I know there's always comparisons, 5 different options looked at as an example for what to do. For this specific project, for example, to me, if you're going to compare the cost of putting in an asphalt parking lot versus doing nothing or versus doing a permeable parking lot, you have to include the cost of what you're losing when you put in an asphalt parking lot. That's my comment for what it's worth.
Yeah, thank you. We'll look at all those options in our detailed design phase and go from there.
Thank you. And I can do some research to see if there's any city in the world that's doing this type of thing, so that we can put what's the value of a tree? What's the value of a square foot of wetland? I don't know if that exists, but I suspect it does. Linda, you have your hand up.
Well, it's my opinion that no wetland should ever be paved over. There's not enough of them. There's too many of them have been drained. And I really feel that if there's any chance of any wetland being looked at for a possible parking lot, I would urge the city and to look elsewhere, because I don't think any wetland should ever be considered to be drained and paved over for a parking lot.
Yeah, I believe in Niagara region in general, I believe about 70 or over 70% of wetlands have already been
It's
paved
not
over.
right. It's not right. We need to save the ones we've got and not pave over anything more for a wetland. And
Agreed.
forests, I agree too. Trees are important. So if they're going to remove part of a forest for a parking lot, then they need to plant double, in my opinion, what is being lost.
Right, because of the age of the
Because of the age of the trees, because of the already established forest. It takes a long time to establish a forest, and planting new trees, small little new trees, don't always survive. So you have to plant at least twice the amount. And I would urge some planting of older trees as well, which is expensive. But if we're losing a part of a forest, which is an expense, as you've already pointed out, Mark, for the for the city, for the land. Our land is important, and what's on the land is important. And so I really feel that no wetlands should be paved over, and forests should be replaced, and with energy for maybe replacing it doubly.
Thank you.
My humble opinion.
Agreed. Thank you. Natalie?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. I did want to note, and I put a couple of links in the chat, that the NPCA did recently complete a natural asset analysis and assessment for the entire watershed. So we do have some information available, not specific to the city of Thorold, but specifically for our watershed in terms of the value of those natural assets, whether they be wetlands, forests, meadows, agricultural fields, showing the value and the importance of green infrastructure within the watershed. So that information is available. We do have a blog. So one of those links is a blog that just explains kind of the high level results of that analysis. And then we have a summary report that's a little bit more technical, but very much plain language that you can take a look at, that summarizes some of those ecosystem services, the value of them, what it's worth, and if the municipality is interested in learning more about their own natural assets, that's something that we can partner with the city with, if that's of interest to council or staff in the future. But those links are there for you, so you can take a look at. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Oh, that's excellent. Thanks for those resources, Natalie. Okay. Councillor O'Hare.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to point out to those that aren't familiar with the area, at present, and Ugo can confirm this, across the street, there is an existing parking lot. So I'm not sure how much more of a footprint the city design will be incorporated into that specific space that already exists. I think I saw a preliminary drawing that may have shown that it wasn't a very large parking lot, but maybe Ugo, you could comment on that. Thank you.
Yes, so the proposed location for the additional parking lot is just within the city's right of way. There's no trees as of today at that location. It's more like a sodded green grass area. So yes, in terms of the spacing, I can do some estimate here. So each of the parking stall is about 6 meters in length. So considering additional 6 meters for the maneuvering and turning for the vehicle, so that will give us around 12 meters spacing, like the width from the back of the multi-use trail that's gonna be installed at the south end side. So typically within 12 to 15 meters from the location at the back of the multi-use trail that's gonna be installed. So 12 meter by multiplied by maybe 14, 12 parking spots. So that would be around 30 or 40 square meter, kind of around that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else. Then I'll move on to the working group updates. And thank you, Ugo, by the way. Thank you. If I didn't already, thank you. So let's start with Earth Day event. And I wanted to thank Jacob and everyone else involved with the planning and implementation of that event. I was there myself for a couple of hours on Saturday, and it appeared to be quite popular and successful. So it'd be great if Jacob, if you could provide us with just an overview, so to speak, of some of the day's highlights, and potentially also talk about some of the areas for improvement for next year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to everyone that attended the event and came by to say hi there as well. Yeah, this year the event was a huge success. Everyone knowing that this was our second time hosting the City of Thorold Earth Day event. Last year, we didn't have a ton of time to plan it, but this year, I think time was on our side, which really helped lead to this success. Basically, we were able to have up to the event a 12-week marketing campaign through social media and helped advertise the event a great deal. So the word was definitely out there this year, and I think that was reflective of the attendance at the event. We estimate that over 500 people attended the event throughout the day. For anyone that was there kind of towards the beginning, we did observe long wait times a long lineup for people that were there to receive their free tree. So I think that was definitely a huge draw to the event. The trees were basically gone. The 100 trees that we had were basically gone within the first 40 or so minutes of the event. So that definitely drew a huge crowd. I think as far as kind of improvements, like the chair here had mentioned, I think we'll look to expand the number of trees that we're going to be giving away in the future. I think that's obviously a great draw, and it's also a great initiative to be able to see 100 people around Thorold are going to be planting trees on their property. So it's adding to the urban tree canopy in a great way as well. Just as Natalie has her hand up there. So Natalie, if you have a question, you can feel free to jump in now. I don't have to blurb on the whole time here.
No, keep talking. It's okay. I'll wait my turn.
Okay, sounds good. But yeah, so the attendance was definitely much greater than last year. We also saw double the number of vendors at this year's event as well too. So last year we had around just under a dozen vendors. This year we had 25 there in attendance. So we had a great turnout for vendors as well. So it gave people more people to talk to. It helped make the room look really full as well too. And then, was also able to provide more information and more touch points for people that were interested in different green initiatives. There's a few people that I'd like to thank. The Knights of Columbus partnered with us this year to jointly host their Spring Garden Festival event at the arena. They also provided food services at the canteen, raising money that were going back into local charities. It was great to be able to work with the Knights. They drew a big crowd as well too. And through their advertising for their event, also told people that they would be at the arena. So again, that was another source that helped amplify our marketing efforts and make sure a lot of people came out. Aside from that, the weather was also a little bit nicer this year than last year. A little bit of rain in the morning, but overall, the cleanup was very well attended this year. We were able to work in partnership with the local Thorold schools and advertise the cleanup as an opportunity for high school students and students to get community service hours, which is part of a requirement for their schooling. So we saw a great number of people come out for that, a great number of families. And then new this year, we also introduced that if anyone wanted to have a cleanup in their own community, since we were kind of limited with the radius of the arena that we could facilitate the cleanup, people were also able to host a cleanup in their own community, and we would be able to support that through handing out garbage pickers, gloves, and garbage bags, and then going back after the weekend to pick it up through Thorold Park staff. So that was also a great initiative. We saw a couple different cleanups going on throughout Thorold. I believe there was one in Rolling Meadows. There was another one in McAdam Park in Thorold South, and then one south of Battle Beaver Dams Park near the Ormond and Linden Street area. So that was some of the cleanups that we saw. And then also BMI Group and BioVel reached out to us and wanted to jointly hold a cleanup that they did in the Allenberg Ball Diamonds and along Canal Pathway starting from Allenberg as well. That one took place before the weekend on Tuesday, but they kind of reached out and worked with us to identify an area that we thought could use a little bit of extra hands on it for the season here. So a big thank you goes out to them as well too. Another highlight of the event this year, we collected over 2 full food bins for community care. So rather than having any admission to the event, we want to make sure as many people as possible are welcome to the event. But we did ask people if they were able to bring a donation for community care. So it's great to see that we can partner with local charities and organizations like that and use events like this to generate a lot of good news stories and great initiatives as well too.
Excellent.
That's pretty much a
Thanks.
summary of everything, but if anyone has
Thank
any
you,
questions,
Robin.
I'd be happy to touch on anything more in detail.
Thank you, Jacob. And Natalie?
I just wanted to congratulate you on what sounds to be a terrific Earth Day event and a bunch of really great stewardship and cleanup events. So congratulations. I think that's really great. And I'm very pleased to hear how much work was done in the community. That's really great to include and engage community partners. Very exciting. So great work with that. I can't remember if our NPCA staff were there this year. I know we were there last year. We're a bit limited, Jacob, in some of our outreach participation right now. So my apologies if we were not there, but continue to send us those invites, and if we can make it, we will. The other thing I wanted to offer while I was on the line as well, for the municipality, for staff, if you're looking to purchase native trees and you want to get a discount, you can work through us and our team. We do have some mechanisms available to save you some money through our increased stock purchasing. We've gone through our RFP process. So anyways, I just thought I'd mention that if you're interested, just reach out. Through our Trees for All program, there may be some opportunities for you to purchase your own trees, but piggyback off of our savings. This is all I was going to mention. And then the last thing, I suppose, Jacob, on your end, if you require volunteers and you need some additional, I could offer for our staff to send a call out to our volunteer channels as well. If you're interested, no pressure or anything, but we do have a really good network of volunteers. And if you're lacking, we can always send out kind of an e-blast, even if it's not our event. If it's an environmental type, like a cleanup or something like that, we can certainly help and facilitate. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Much appreciated. It's the appropriate venue for this to be announced as well, too. We will be doing some more tree plantings in October towards, I believe the 18th is our tentative date right now. We do have a grant that will be looking to plant some more trees over at Melsport Park, just like we did last year. So kind of addressing maybe some of the DQ Road environmental issues there as well, too. There will be some more trees being planted in that area. And we will be looking for volunteers for that event in the future as well, too. So
Okay.
now for sure I'll reach out to you for that as well.
Yeah, is the city of Thorold? I don't think the city of Thorold is not a participating partner in our Trees for All program yet, but that's certainly something you should consider doing. These are the types of plantings that we help support, and we work with municipal partners, and you get a lot of benefits from working with us on those community plantings. So it's something to think about for the future. But if you do need some support with that, Jacob, let us know. It depends on what funding that you have, if we can piggyback on our own funding that we have as well. But anyways, we can talk about that offline if you want. Just reach out and I can connect you to the appropriate staff that are leading our Trees for All programming. We'd be happy to work with you in the city.
Perfect. Much appreciated. Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks, Natalie. And Jacob, Linda. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I think you're on mute, Linda.
I had a phone call. I just like thank Jacob for his leadership in this matter. I think he's done a marvelous job, and I look forward to seeing what he can do next year. I'm sure it will be even better than it was this year, and it was so great this year. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Much
thanks,
appreciated.
Linda. And Jacob, I'll also mention that I don't know if it was you didn't mention there's a little green space behind my house. And somebody went and cleaned that up on Saturday. It was full of styrofoam and plastic and paper. And they had a bunch of garbage bags sitting on the end, which I assume the city picked up. So that may have been on your list as well, which I really appreciate, because I was going to go out and do it myself. You just beat me to it.
Perfect. Glad to help.
In terms of the Earth Day event, I enjoyed the speakers, both speakers that presented. My comment would be somehow we need to get them a larger crowd and to somehow separate them so that they can, they need to have more attention, but at the same time, it was difficult to hear because of the background noise from all the other activities that were going on. So that would be my suggestion. Not exactly sure how that can be accomplished, but that'd be my only comment.
For sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a difficult one to address being in the arena. It's a little bit of an echoey space, but kind of I was thinking along the same lines of how do we get a crowd there and make sure they're well attended. But I think maybe next year we might look into something almost like a breakout room and use another room and maybe have people kind of pre-register so we can kind of gauge estimated attendance for the speakers and try and build excitement and build a little bit of scarcity, almost, to say limited spots available for signing up to see the speaker, and it might kind of light people to jump in there a little bit more quickly and make sure they want to get a spot to hear one of the keynote speeches there.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds
very
excellent.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, I'm going to move on to the committee long-term goals working group. As per my earlier comments, I think at this point in time, the most value we're going to be able to add is being involved with the official plan. So I'm going to move on and talk about the Greening Thorold initiative. So attached to this agenda also is a copy of the Greening Thorold Working Group update, along with a proposed tree list for use by the city. So the intent is to provide this update and recommended tree list to City Council, requesting ongoing support for city staff to finalize and implement the tree list, along with other plant lists that we'll be developing over time. The update's attached, but I'll go through a quick summary. That we have met on 4 occasions, and after the first couple of meetings, we developed a program of activities. The first step of which is to review and update the city's approved tree and plant lists. So that's what we're focusing on right now. Utilizing best practices from the NPCA, Niagara region, as well as the recently updated Town of Lincoln tree list. We completed an updated recommendation for a new tree list. And when I say we, I mean Helen. Helen was doing the heavy lifting to develop, to put together these lists and come up with an overall recommendation. So our next steps, so this list for trees is specifically designed to provide guidance for planting on streets, boulevards, as well as in city parks. So we do have some more lists that we need to come out with for private property and plants, not just trees. The next steps include working with the appropriate city staff to finalize this tree list and make it available to the public as well as to the city's suppliers and developers. I envision that this list will be posted online at the city's website, replacing the existing tree planting program page, which currently provides a short list of small, medium, and large trees. I believe a communications plan will also need to be developed to ensure that that this new tree list is rolled out appropriately. Once we're finished with this tree list, then we'll continue working with the city to develop and implement similar lists covering shrubs, sedges, ornamental grasses, ground cover, ferns, as well as forbs. And as I mentioned, these lists will not only be used by city staff and contractors, but will be a great benefit to the residents of Thorold to help guide their planting on private land, as well as potentially on city-owned boulevard property. And this, I envision, will require some more healthy community engagement when we get to this boulevard planning type of activity. So that's sort of the update. Before I move on with how we're going to get this to council, are there any questions or comments regarding the current status of this working group? I don't see any. Okay, so we would like to introduce a motion at this point to have council direct staff to continue supporting ECBEC, specifically the Greening Thorold initiative, with respect to reviewing and updating the city-approved tree and plant lists, and that staff report back to council with these updated tree and plant lists for approval to roll out. And Justin has the wording for the proposed motion.
Can you see it on the screen, everyone?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
So Mark, what do you need? A mover and a seconder?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I just give some time for people to read it. Are there any questions on the proposed motion?
Perhaps, Mr. Chair, just for clarity, you can read the 1 and 2 on there, just so everyone is clear.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so what we're looking for is that council directs staff to continue working with the ECBEC on the Greening Thorold initiative regarding reviewing and updating the existing city approved tree and plant lists, and that council directs staff to report back to council with updated tree and plant lists once they have been finalized. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this motion? Linda, thank you.
I'll move it.
And Joe. Excellent. Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay. Hang on before we move forward. Oh, Amber, was that your hand up in favor?
Yes. Yes, it was.
Thank you. Thanks. Any opposed? Seeing none, then thank you very much. And this motion has passed from this committee. Justin, are we good?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, let's move on to 7.3. So as per the last meeting, I've requested that Mark Richardson present some information regarding green and natural burials, as well as proposed plans for the naturalization of Thorold cemeteries. I think it's important that we understand this. Thank you very much. Mark?
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak to the committee this morning. If you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen now. I have a photo-rich presentation. I will try to blast through this as quickly as possible, but as I said, it's photo-rich, and I could talk about this all day, so I ask for your patience as we get through this. And for those of you that would like additional information, once we get through this presentation, again, I'm happy to not only speak with you over the phone, but meet with you out at Lakeview Cemetery and perhaps walk the grounds and talk about the vision, if you will. So I'm going to quickly ask for a nod of heads. Can everybody see my screen at present that says Green and Natural Burials?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. So green and natural burials is something that I've been both personally and professionally involved with for about 8 years now. Of course, before joining the city of Thorold, I was with the city of Niagara Falls, and in the role of managing cemeteries there, I was able to work with the Natural Burial Association and the Green Burial Society of Canada. I also sit as the president with the Ontario Association of Cemetery and Funeral Professionals, which is another organization that has recognized and now educates about green burials, which are growing exponentially, not only across Ontario, but across Canada. So what I'd like to do today is give you a little bit of information about what a green or a natural burial is, and then perhaps showcase one of the examples that I've worked on, and then also look at the cemetery grounds as a whole and how greening or naturalized efforts can really improve the grounds of a cemetery and the community that cemetery is within. So first and foremost, what is a green burial? Let me see if I can switch my slides here. There we are. Defining a green or a natural burial. And first and foremost, green or natural burials, you'll hear different people refer to them differently, but really they're synonymous with each other. And I provide these two definitions for you. The Green Burial Society of Canada identifies a green burial as an environmentally sensitive practice in which the body is returned to the earth to decompose naturally and contribute to new life. Whereas the Natural Burial Association of Canada refers to a natural burial as the act of returning the body as naturally as possible to the earth. Natural burials offer a simple connection between life and death and an alternative to today's industrial options. So you can see they're quite synonymous with one another. Both focus on 5 specific principles. And the first, and perhaps most important, is that the bodies are no longer embalmed. Embalming is a very old practice of preserving the body, allowing it to, in fact, without getting into too much history, it dates back to the War of, or the American Civil War. And I've heard 2 different stories. One is that they first preserved Abraham Lincoln's body, so in order to put it on a train and take it across Canada or across the United States and allow the nation to pay their respects to Abraham Lincoln. The other is that during that same time with the Civil War happening, a lot of young kids were fighting, in those battles and across the country, and they wanted to be able to get them home to their parents to be able to inter them. But again, nowadays, the act of embalming a body has shifted significantly. In fact, when speaking with one funeral home recently, they're only embalming about 40% of bodies. And that is in part because of the rise of cremation and in part because of the growing interest in green burials. And realistically, the only reason why we embalm a body is to preserve it as long as possible. It's a chemical. In fact, it's formaldehyde, as we all know, which is a carcinogen as well. So without embalming the body, this allows the body to break down or decompose as quickly as possible, thereby returning the energy or the benefits of your body to the earth. The second principle is that the body is buried directly in the earth. And by that, I mean, you can still have a casket, you can have a shroud, but what we do not include in those interments are outside grave liners or concrete vaults. So in cemeteries, Some people will opt to have a concrete vault, a metal, plastic, or fiberglass liner. And again, it's really to further encapsulate the casket or the body to prevent it from breaking down. So again, in green burials, we would have a direct earth burial. Ecological restoration and or conservation. And there's two ways to look at green or natural burials and the impact that they can have on a cemetery or a community as a whole. And one is that you're taking an existing green space, an existing conservation land, and you're preserving it and maintaining it in perpetuity through cemetery legislation. On the other hand, you can also look at restoring those naturalized areas. So taking a space that at one point in history was a beautiful naturalized area. But of course, over a period of time, we've knocked that down, whether it's a woodlot or a prairie field or a wild grass meadow. We've clear cut those things and just planted European grasses. Well, green or natural burials allows us to, I guess, reestablish those naturalized areas. And again, the perpetual protection of that space through cemetery legislation is another strong proponent or component of green and natural burials. Communal memorialization is the fourth principle. Ultimately, it is the entire space, the entire natural burial space that serves as a living memorial for the people who elect to be interred there. Now, that's not to say that people aren't memorialized within that space. Typically, what happens is they select an area, the cemetery selects an area within the space, and it becomes a communal memorialization space. Reason being, and again, without getting into too many details, is when you look at what I'll call a conventional cemetery section, and you see row upon row of monuments, some that are 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall, older monuments that are upwards of 8 or 9 feet tall. Under each one of those monuments, we've had to excavate and pour at least 4 feet of concrete under each one of those. So you can imagine the displacement of the native earth in a conventional section. That's why in a green or natural burial site, you select a very specific space, and it becomes the only area that is really kind of impacted by the placement of memorials. What I will say with respect to the memorialization is, more often than not, in the natural or green burial sites that I've had the pleasure of visiting, they have selected materials or stone that is native to the area. So this picture is actually from out west in Victoria, BC, and I believe this is called saltstone, and that is native to Victoria. So that's what they elected to use. In Niagara Falls, they used limestone quarried from Queenston Quarry, which is less than a kilometer away from the cemetery. And that's typically what you see is cemeteries trying to work within that kind of 100-mile diet, if you will. Optimized land use. So green or natural burials now provide cemeteries with a different perspective of the existing cemetery space. And I say that because in many cases, cemeteries are developed the same way that residential areas are. Unfortunately, I will say, typically what they do is they take a large swath of land and they clear cut it, and then they develop it. Whereas with a green or a natural burial section, you can look at an area of the cemetery that might have a tall stand of trees, an old growth woodlot, if you will, or the topography may not be exactly perfect. And you can take that space and now use it for natural or green burial development. Because again, people who are interested in natural burial respect that the land is not going to be perfect. And they recognize that by interring their loved ones or themselves in that space, it actually preserves that old growth woodlot. Some great examples have been created across Ontario, but the one that comes to mind is actually in Picton, Ontario, a cemetery called Glenwood Cemetery. It's a smaller cemetery, old cemetery, and it's surrounded by an old growth woodlot. And so originally they thought, oh, we're not going to be able to develop the cemetery further. Once green and natural burials became returned to the market, they then created a walking path through that old growth woodlot and sold, I believe, 50 lots within the first month. And they've now moved on to extend that. You can Google them on. They've done a CBC special about that development. Kingston is another great example. They took Pine Grove Cemetery, which is again an older cemetery, and they took a small section of that. This would have originally been a meadow, and in the in the development of that space, they've sold 100 lots within a month. I mean, this is the type of interest that we're seeing across Ontario. So why? Why would we opt for a green or natural burial? And I know today I'm preaching to the choir, but I'll tell you nonetheless. So a green or a natural burial, obviously, and most importantly, reduces the environmental impacts of death, of bereavement. And again, without getting into too many details, when we talk about removing the embalming, using a naturalized casket or shroud, so that you're not placing those metals in the ground, no longer having an individualized monument, so you're taking away that need for 4 feet of concrete in the ground. Those are all the types of things that have a dramatic impact on the environment. But going one step further, if you're planting trees or creating a wildflower meadow, you're creating a pollinator's dream come true. And I'll show you a few pictures of that coming up. In green and natural burials, we're recognizing that there's the potential for enhanced family engagement. And I say that not to say that in conventional burials, families are not involved, but more often than not in green burials, families are, again, because they're not embalming the bodies. In some cases, the families are participating in the washing of the body. They're participating in the shrouding of the body. They're often involved in the graveside service, bringing whether it's native flowers or native stones that they've collected from the shores of Lake Ontario to place in that casket or with the casket. Just a really, again, it's a trend that we're recognizing not just here in Ontario or Canada, but also in the US. And there are a number of really heartfelt videos about people that have been involved in the process. The caskets, which are often, untreated, families are now painting those with natural paint to leave a message to the deceased as they're lowered into the ground. More efficient land use, which is one of the principles that I just spoke to, looking at areas of the cemetery that at one point would not have been used, or the only way it would have been useful was to clear cut it, and now we can leave it in its natural state and make use of it from a cemetery perspective. Enhanced habitat and natural green spaces goes without saying, and reduced maintenance costs. And I say this, again, recognizing that to maintain a naturalized area, there are still costs. But when you remove the need for a $40,000 or $50,000 lawnmower, the constant operation of trimmers and leaf blowers and chainsaws, you see a significant cost savings with respect to the maintenance of a naturalized area, particularly depending on the way it is developed. And then again, enhancing and enriching the community socially and environmentally. And I'll show you a few pictures coming up of what that means. And again, in all of the areas that I've witnessed and been a part of the development of a green burial or natural burial site, the community has really been the driving force. And through that, they've organized groups, committees such as this, to see this through, and it becomes not just a space for interring your loved ones, but a space of gathering and a space of education for our youth. So this is the sample that I'll use today, and I've got a number, but this is the one that I was most connected with. This is one that I championed in Niagara Falls from the beginning and from the very beginning. So Willow's Rest was developed in 2017. We started in 2016. In fact, it was started because of the Park in the City Committee, which is the same committee of council that ECBAC is here. And that committee decided that they supported green burials, and they have a budget for memorial trees, and they invested that money at Fairview Cemetery of planting the first 75 trees. I show this just because very often people ask about green burials and how it is recognized through the province. Well, it's no different than a conventional section. Legally, we have to provide the province with this style of map, which illustrates where the graves are, that they're numbered, the sizes of them. But I show this also because it illustrates the number of trees that we had anticipated on planting, and the purple blobs that you see around there are also pollinator gardens, monarch butterfly pollinator gardens that were planted in the process. The circular centerpiece here is where the communal memorial stones are placed. So just a few pictures illustrating the development of Willow's Rest. This is a little under 2 acres. It had an enormous, or has an enormous, weeping willow in the back, which is a bit ironic in that a weeping willow is actually not native, but it's been standing there for about 150 years. So we thought this was a very fitting spot. And after, by the time I'd left, the city had planted, I believe, upwards of about 400 or 500 trees in and around this vicinity. So this is an example of one of the pollinator gardens in the front, and then the sea of gold that you see in the back is all Rudbeckia that was hand selected from local farms. In fact, the planter is one that Natalie may be very familiar with. He was the owner of Sassafras Farms and has done an incredible amount of natural habitat restoration within the region, Chris Dorado. And so he was responsible for the planting of 15,000 wildflower plugs and seeds, all native to the Niagara region. And again, as the seasons pass, the texture, if you will, of a green burial site is just overwhelming, and you can see why it serves in its entirety as a memorial space for those interred in this space. Even in winter, it's an absolutely beautiful site, and again, wildlife takes up residence through this space year round. But I talked about some of the community involvement, and I wanted to showcase this. When we first developed Willow's Rest, we were approached by another group called Small Scale Farms, and they installed beehives at the back of Willow's Rest. In the bottom corner, this is going back 6 years. That's my son sitting or squatting about 3 feet away from the beehives. And this is what I was speaking of, an opportunity to educate our youth, not only about the environment, about about the need or the importance of planting trees and planting native pollinator plants, but also about educating our youth about the bees and the crucial role that they play in our society.
Mark, sorry, I don't want to cut you short, but we're running out of time here, so
I will zip through these last 3. I think there's only 3 or 4 more slides, and then we'll be done. This is a picture showing the college, the bee education programs that can be developed, and then how does this impact the world, and what do we envision here? So this is a picture of old and new Lakeview Cemetery. And on the right-hand side, we have New Lakeview Cemetery. The areas where I've placed large, I guess, green blobs or green trees, these are the spaces that I'm currently looking at. X and Y are new sections that have not been developed, and so these are spaces that we could look at in the future for this type of development. But again, looking at the beauty of green or natural burials, we could create a natural buffer even from the dump and the compost site that is next door to us, and use this natural buffer not only for the development of green burial site, but for meandering pathways. And so I showcase some of the pathways that exist here in Ontario that serve as memorialized spaces where people can place, whether it's small niches or memorial stones, and then even create. This year we developed the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, and this is an example of what the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee did in Niagara Falls. This was the planting of a pollinator garden along a fence line, which honors and recognizes lost youth. But again, this was planted by the youth. And what I will say, Natalie mentioned about volunteers and the NPCA, working alongside the NPCA, we've had an incredible amount of success planting native pollinator gardens and also replacing European grass fence lines with naturalized areas. There was a large project, an ongoing project in Niagara Falls, where the entire north side of the cemetery was being naturalized, and that was in partnership with the NPCA. So often when many people think of cemeteries, they think of the common phrase, the only consistent things in life are death and taxes, but I like to focus on this slide. The only constant thing in life is change, and that's a Greek philosopher. And even in death and dying and in the bereavement sector, change is continual. And green burials is actually we're reinventing the wheel, if you will. It's something that we practiced hundreds of years ago, and we're just reminding or re-educating people about what our options are. So on that, I thank you again for your time, and I'm sorry I took so much of it, but I could talk about this for a long while.
Yeah, Mark, thank you very much. So personally, I find it absolutely fascinating, and it is totally changed my concept or thoughts around burials. So thank you very much. We are running out of time, but if there is any other questions for Mark on this subject, Councillor O'Hare.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to say thank you for such an informative presentation, Mark. We here in Thorold have such a large, fantastic, clean slate with Lakeview Cemetery, and I'm looking forward to some of these really green initiatives. There are just way too many wonderful things that you spoke about. We could spend the entire day discussing it further, but they're great initiatives, and I'm looking forward to being a part of their development. So thanks again for coming to our group.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, with that, I'm going to move into the roundtable discussion. Personally, I have nothing from myself today. I'm going around the screen here. Linda, do you have anything to add to the roundtable discussion?
No, but I would like to thank Mark for his presentation. It certainly gives me and many people a food for thought. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor O'Hare?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two things just to bring to the table. One is this Saturday, the Thorold Garden Club is inviting people to a tree planting in Melswart Park. That's at 11 a.m. This Saturday. So if you're free and would like to come out and join that, it's just a couple of trees. It's not a big tree planting, but it's significant that whenever any group in Thorold gets involved in tree planting. The second event is Beaver Dam's Church Cleanup, which is going to take place on Saturday, May 17th. It usually runs from about 9:30 till 11:30. Usually takes a couple of hours. It's a fun morning. The Flying Dragons cadets group comes out and volunteers, as well as many members of the Friends of Beaver Dam's Church. And if you're free that morning, come on out. It's just cutting back some of the shrubbery that impedes easy walkway through and around the property, and cutting the grass, trimming around the historic headstones and graves that are there. So that is May 17th, 9:30, approximately till 11:30. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing those community activities. That's great. Joe?
Two minor things. Number one, if I could ask Justin to send the DeQ Road project information over to the Parks meeting, if that's possible. They may have an interest in it as well. The only other thing that I have a question for, I'm not just sure who. The Lake Gibson corridor people are wondering if someone was to approach Brock University to get some of their students to do a biodiversity survey in the Lake Gibson corridor, we have no idea who should be approaching them. The Lake Gibson Committee does not have any official authority to do so, whether it's on behalf of the city or not. This committee could have, the NPCA might, Parks might. I don't need an answer on that right this second, because it's probably a month or two early in the year to do such a thing, or to even get some students to do it. But if the city could, or if somebody could get back to me on an opinion on that, I'd appreciate it.
So just to be clear, Joe, you're looking for, and you're suggesting Brock to do a biodiversity study?
Yeah, just we had one. We had a mini one done a few years ago by Brock, but from what I understand, the results have kind of disappeared.
Okay, Natalie?
I was just going to offer, I've got some connections at Brock. I can make some connections if you're interested. I'm not sure if their students will still be around. It's the end of term now, so it's a little tricky in terms of the time of year. But I know Niagara College, for example, just did a BioBlitz event, is what they call it, and they bring out community partners and students alike and lots of people just to use iNaturalist and start recording what's there. It's not a full biodiversity study, so that's a completely different thing. But anyways, I just thought I'd mention if you want to have some connections, I have excellent connections at Brock and can help establish that if required. Just let me know.
Okay, I would appreciate that if you could get back to me on it. Yeah, and I know it's the wrong time of year. A month or two ago, it was too sloppy to get in there and do anything. And right now, you're right. The students are leaving at the end of term. So I sort of envisioned something possibly in June, early July, but that's just my opinion. Thanks, Helen.
Joe, I would think there may be some students who live locally that might want to be involved. So I would, use Natalie and access some people, and the people who give courses in that in ecology probably could recommend some students that might be local, I think.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. I mean, I can walk through there, but I don't really know what I'm looking at for the most part. I'm not trying to be facetious when I say that. But somebody that knows what they're doing, just going through and just doing a quickie survey. I mean, there may even be things that we want to remove because they're not just invasive, but shouldn't be there.
Mm.
Okay, thanks, Joe, and Natalie. Thanks for stepping up there. So if you guys, I can connect you offline if you want, Joe, just to make sure you have the email. Okay.
Sure.
Who's next here? Mark.
No, just I guess one really quick update. Jacob had talked about a tree planting happening. I think it was October 18th, but we also have an additional 100 trees being planted on October. I believe it's October 6th. That will be taking place at DQ House Heritage Park, working with the OECFP, and we will be looking for volunteers as well. So just keep that date in mind also.
And when was that, Mark? October
6th.
October 6th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, also, I wanted to thank Helen, who did send me over that tree planting list that she'd been working on for a while. So that was also used for the tree planting sorry. That was also used for all the trees that were given away at the City of Thorold Earth Day event. So thank you again.
I was going to ask that, but I didn't want to, just in case.
No worries. It was.
That's great to hear. Ugo?
Yeah, nothing from me. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to meet with you guys. Thank you.
And thank you. Okay. Natalie, appreciate your involvement today.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to reiterate our teams were very busy right now. In the spring and the fall is a crazy time for the NPCA in terms of my division here. Our teams are ramping up for a spring planting. So we do tree plantings, large scale bare root plantings on large agricultural fields. So we're ramping up for that right now and have started already some large scale planting, and we're partnering with a lot of the municipalities for shared services and our potted stock as well. So we do community plantings and potted plants like we've done with the cemeteries, for example. Those are ramping up as well for the spring and for the fall. And we're looking to partner with municipalities to help deliver our Trees for All programming. We've got a grant from the 2 billion trees, and that provides a subsidy for municipalities to partner with us and to work on getting more trees in the ground. On top of that, our restoration and water quality monitoring teams are out in the field and starting to get going on a number of initiatives. So lots of things going on here. I just wanted to keep it short, but if you have any questions or you're interested in what we're doing, let me know and I can provide some more information.
Excellent, thanks. And I'm sure that Mark will be following up with you on the Trees for All as well as the 2 million program that you just talked about. That's excellent. Amber.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Thanks. And Helen, I think that's you that joined us.
It is Helen, but she's also driving, so I don't know if she can
I was
answer.
going to say, you may not be.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yes, I listened into the whole thing, but yeah, it was I didn't want to interrupt with unmuting myself and having all that road noise. So excellent meeting. Thank you. I'm glad I was able to listen in.
Great, thanks. Okay, and with that, our next meeting will be held on July 11th, although there's going to be a lot of work being done by the working groups before then. But our next official ACPAC meeting is on July 11th. And there being no further business to discuss, I will adjourn this meeting at 11:07 a.m. Thank you all for joining, and thanks